welcome to KooKs. Chef Peter Wu here.
Hi.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Eric and I have known each other for a while. I've been an Asian cook for, I guess, about 30-odd years now, professionally. And before then, I grew up in the business, so I don't really consider family restaurant professional, but
Yeah.
but depends who you talk to, I guess. So I grew up in the business when I was 10, and my parents had a Chinese restaurant in Las Vegas called Mayflower, and then we've had multiple Mayflowers since then.
Your first one over by the airport before I started with you, that was called Mayflower also?
Yeah. That was
okay.
Mayflower Culinary, or Mayflower Chinese restaurant. Then we had another version called Mayflower Culinary that you and I met. And then we had another one, I guess, besides Wu at the Palazzo, then we had one called Fu that we managed in the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
So,
you say, do you still have Fu or no? The Fu closed?
we just closed. We had a 5-year contract with Hard Rock, and that 5 years ran up, and then they just kept on saying, well, just stick with us, and that was another 5 years. So we ran it for about 10 years over there. We just closed in February of 2020, and everybody was saying, why are you closing? Why are you closing? And the main thing was my mom's like 70. She's going to turn 70 this year, so I think
you closed just in time, tell you the truth.
And then,
well done.
Well, everybody was laughing at us saying, you should continue going. And, it was basically my mom's retirement. And then a month, maybe 6 weeks later, pandemic closes everybody down.
Yeah.
So we look like geniuses now. But but at the time, they were like, you're crazy. You guys have always had a restaurant in Las Vegas.
So any future plans for another restaurant, another Wu?
For me, no.
What, are you retiring?
No. For me running a restaurant in the family, no. When the pandemic opens, I still got probably another maybe 10 years in me. Maybe or not. I don't know. But
you going back to California, the Noodle House, or no? Is that a done deal?
that's a close now.
So they're not even talking about bringing it back, right?
Well, they closed the California Noodle House and the Steakhouse. So the only thing open is the coffee shop, and that's limited hours. Now, when everything reopens, we don't know, but right now they've laid off everybody, and they furloughed everybody initially, but then they fired everybody. Laid off, fired, whatever it is, but Henry was there. Multiple people were there for 30, 40 years.
Henry got fired?
Yeah.
Wow, they really cleaned house.
They cleaned everybody, and then you have to reapply. So when you reapply, what does that mean?
Right back to zero.
Yeah, everybody starts to zero. They can change up their concepts, whatever it is. We'll see what happens, but, it is what it is, but,
So hey, let me ask you: if you weren't raised in a restaurant, do you think you'd be in the business?
Absolutely not. I don't think so. When I went to college, I almost got away until I got pulled back later. So I think I would be something else. I might be an office worker.
What kind of office worker? Like a lawyer?
I always thought that I'd be a pretty good teacher.
You are a good teacher, as a fact.
Thanks. I thought I'd probably do something in terms of teaching, hopefully like higher education, but I don't know, something along those lines, But once you start making a little bit of money, it's kind of hard to, I'm going to give that all away and then I'm just going to teach.
Yeah, and work for next to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the years working with my parents. That was... I think I had enough of low pay.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You got paid better than I did when we worked there.
That's really bad. That's really bad.
Well, you didn't have to go home with the boss and then get yelled at there.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, it wasn't about the money at that age. It was all about the knowledge, and as long as I was learning something, I didn't care.
No, when we first met, I thought you were the most ambitious, and I was like, wow. And, you had basic skills, but then when we taught you things, you're like a sponge. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
It's certainly something that always interests me, and especially your restaurant. I still remember the Peking duck and the fried rice. The big wok, like stuff like that. It's just I never got to do again. I never made another Peking duck again in my life. I never worked it with a big wok other than at Noodle House, but that wasn't even.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
Nope. Our pickup and everything was much different. But Peking duck, you could.
Yeah, I know. I could do it. I just never have. I should probably do it. Yeah. Why not?
It's a pain, and then you remember everything again. But you have to get all the stuff. I don't do it at home. I'd rather just go out and buy it.
I know, me too. Stop by the international market, just grab a duck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much easier. Yeah. So what have you been doing through the pandemic? Nothing?
The first 3 months were glorious. I mean, I got to tell you, it didn't really matter about the money or anything like that. It just had to do with I got to rest up and not be exhausted all the time, And then after that, it's like, oh, I'm going to focus in on doing the things that I never have time to because now I have the energy. So all I did was woodworking. So,
Woodworking?
Yeah. Woodworking and cooking are not too dissimilar to me, So everything that you have, instead of using a sharp knife, you're using cool power tools.
That's true.
And, creme brulee, you're using propane, or, MAP gas or whatever to burn things. It's very similar to me. All you're doing now is creating structure and building, sound things instead of edible things. So
What you building now?
I built a lot of things.
Really?
I built a shelf, which I could show you a picture of. That won't help anybody else. But after building and finding how to join things and the interest there, then how to beautify the things. So I made some nice things. Made a giant toy box for my kid, and he used it as a coffin for a while, my 10-year-old. But then we finally put toys in it. A giant shelf for myself. It's like an 8-footer that fits in my bathroom. It's very pretty. I mean, it's basic pretty, but it's pretty for me. And things like that.
So just doing a little remodeling around the house.
Yeah, my house is like 15 years old, so it's time to update and stuff like that. But it's all the things that you don't have time for. You go to IKEA or something like that, and you buy this small little shelf that's 5 foot or 4 foot, and then you outgrow it after 15 years, and then now I've got this 8 foot shelf that I could probably climb to the top, and take things, off of it. So that's what I've been doing, is building, restructuring the house. When I got laid off or fired in July, I got a severance pay, and then also, I don't know if your viewers know this or not, but with the coronavirus, if you have 401k, this is kind of an important thing if you're kind of an adult. But if you have a 401k and you have to roll it over because of the coronavirus, you have access to your 401k, and you can unlock, without any penalties, your money up to $100,000.
They just sent me a check.
Yeah, well, that's your severance. So that was the severance pay. So, but then if you had put money in a 401k, then you have to roll it over because Boyd isn't handling that anymore. So now that you've got to roll it over
to an IRA or something like that.
To something, yeah. And I had a financial advisor. So
yeah,
well,
my finance is much better than I do. Peter, I don't know if you know that.
It is better.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's a good start since we're getting up there. But one of the things is you can access your 401k without penalty up to $100,000, and then and just say, yeah, I was affected by the coronavirus, and then roll whatever money back into stock options or whatever. So I took some more money and did some more remodeling. So,
Cool.
yeah. So that's basically all I've been doing. And then a lot of tennis.
A lot of tennis.
Yeah.
That's good. You love tennis.
I do, and never got a chance to play, and now I get to compete again. So, that's good for me.
You're competing.
Well, I'm trying to get out. I've been asked, to play, and, I've been getting on more things, but I'm 54. So typically when you turn 55, you're considered senior. So now it's like I'm going into a different league of playing, so I'm playing with a lot of old people. So,
yeah.
Old retired people.
I didn't think you were playing with the amateurs,
Oh, no, I'm not a pro.
Yeah.
No. We're just league players, and but I get to play with my own age set, which is better than playing with 25-year-olds that hit the ball, 100 miles an hour. I'm much more broken than that now.
Do you ever do racquetball or just strictly tennis?
I didn't pick up racquetball, but I picked up from the tennis players. I picked up something called pickleball, and it's like a small version of tennis, but it's with a wooden paddle, and it sounds very hollow when you hit a ball, and you play with kind of like a wiffle ball, version of wiffle ball. So the bounce is very low. So everybody hits the ball and basically approaches something called the kitchen, which is kind of funny, right? So you got this kitchen. You can never go into the kitchen unless the ball bounces in the kitchen. Then you can attack the ball. But you're supposed to, when the ball hits into the kitchen, the object of the game is keep it in the kitchen. So you're hitting the ball and then retreating from the kitchen and then waiting for the ball and advancing into the kitchen.
What's this called again?
It's called pickleball.
Pickleball.
It's a very popular sport amongst old people now.
Oh.
Yeah, but there's a lot of young people that are playing it, a lot of families that are playing it, and there's one like a mile away from my house.
Do you play at like local parks or you got a gym you go to?
It's a local park. Yeah.
Local park? Okay, so they have those in local parks?
Yeah, they're not quite as popular as tennis right now, but anybody can pick up a paddle and a ball and start playing right away. So it's an easy sport. Like I said, it's family friendly. My 10-year-old started playing, and he doesn't enjoy it that much, but he everybody in the family can play, and there's always tons of people playing in pickleball.
Do you ever talk to the old crew?
The old crew is in
yeah,
Noodle
the one I know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people have called me. There are a couple bad things. Initially in July, we all found out that we were laid off very poorly, and then everybody called me then. Everybody called me once in a while to find out, hey, when we're going to open again. And then when we found out we were all laid off, then it's all been like technical finance issues, like 401k rollovers. If I know of any jobs out there, which there are no jobs out there. They're scaling back, even more now. So I've always said to you and everybody else, watch your finances. Save your money for this rainy day, and hopefully some of you guys have listened to me and put some money away. I actually did exceptionally well last year financially in terms of stocks. It was a bear market, and probably the best I've done in.
What does that mean when it's a bear market? Or what's the other term? It's either a bear market or a bull market?
Yeah, I think it's a bull market.
Okay.
I think a bear market, I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know the particulars, but basically it comes around every seven years-ish, typically 7 years. This one also coincidentally was placed near election year. And typically when people, and I'm just saying this because, again, I'm not a financial guy, I'm a cook.
Yeah.
But It just so happens that the 7-year cycle plus an election year happened to make the market very lucrative. And not only that, was I was on the right side of things. Instead of being on having stock that was on the big money, big companies, I had people that had advised me to go into smaller companies. So instead of having stock in something like Pfizer, which they're putting out vaccines and everything, that's such a huge company. Even with the vaccines rolling out and everything, it's a very small part of their portfolio of for their business. So my advisor went with Moderna because they're a smaller company, and I think we doubled up in terms.
Yeah, you might as well be Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
it's only going to go higher too. It's not looking like it's slowing down at all.
Well, that's the thing about I mean, we're on the right side of a lot of things. We're on a lot of tech companies. We're on smaller companies that profited well, and I would say 60% of most of the stocks out there, they're either flat or they're in the negative. And on the other, but I was on the 40% side, so I did well. So I feel weird. I've been out of work for like 10 months, 11 months, but I've done exceptionally well in terms of investment. So that has carried me through. And when I was at Boyd, I stashed a lot of money away in my 401k, and I bought a lot of stock at a relatively cheap price. I wouldn't say cheap, at a standard price for 4 or 5 years. And then that all paid off this year.
While we're on the financial subject, what do you think about Bitcoin? Every time I turn around, someone's saying to buy Bitcoin. I can't bring myself to invest in something that literally looks like Mario coins I played when I was a kid.
The funny thing is I
just can't wrap my head around it.
I can't get myself to, but that's the thing is we don't have to understand it. We didn't understand a lot of things. How would you have described saying, in next year, everybody's going to be working from home and nobody's going to be wearing at a restaurant. Yeah. Nobody's coming to Las Vegas. Yeah. And,
demon rats. And we're infected with demon rats.
Yeah. And there are more people in the world, I wouldn't even say in the U.S., in the world, that are dying of, a very specific flu. There's no way to wrap your head around these things. Like with Bitcoin, I can't get myself to invest in it, but I know somebody personally that is kind of a bigwig in a company that I guess mines Bitcoin. So he's making a lot of money doing it. Just working, not investing, but working in the industry. So he probably doubled. He was already getting 6 figures, and now he probably got his pay doubled by working in a Bitcoin industry. So, as long as you get paid, I guess that's the main story is you don't have to understand it.
Yeah, there's a lot about the stock market I don't really understand, to be perfectly honest.
Me either. That's why I paid an advisor.
Yeah.
So,
is he Jewish?
No, he's actually Hawaiian.
Hawaiian?
I didn't know he was Hawaiian. I actually thought he was. I thought he was a Korean guy. His name's Jeff Lee. And he's excellent. So if you ever want, I could give you his contact information. He's been
if I ever get some money,
It's not about how much money you make. It's not about how much. It's how much money. If you think I'm going to save 10%, 15%, or 30%. Like at my age, when you hit 50, the government allows you to put more money in without being taxed as hard as when you're younger. But if you continue to put money in, even if it's only 10% of your total, make, that's, that could be like a Starbucks, every other day or something. And if you just put in $5 at the end of the week, you're putting in $20 ish. that
Yeah, it
money
adds
will
up.
grow.
Yeah, it really does. You're right. Because I'll tell you what's kind of funny. Somehow I got a 401k when I was working part-time at the California hotel. So when I got it, I think it was, 3 summers or 2 summers? No, 2 summers, because the first summer I was let go, and the second 2 summers you carried me over, so I actually had seniority. But I don't think I had the 401k the first year, but I got it the next 2 years.
Okay, so you did listen. Good.
Yeah, well, I signed up for it, and I couldn't believe I got like a $350 check for part-time work for a couple months a year.
Like I said, it matters.
Yeah, it really does add up. Man.
And that's the whole thing is it matters you probably didn't put that much away, and it just grew a little bit by little bit. And again, that's part-time, a couple months, 3 or 4 months for 2 or 3 years. And, you probably cashed out, but I had a lot of people from the old crew, front of the house and back of the house.
I actually didn't have a choice. They just sent me a check.
Well, it was probably because 300's not that much, but and they probably just taxed you out, versus.
It was fine with me. I didn't even know I had it.
It's free money.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take all the free money I can.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. I mean, but with a couple people, like I said, front of the house, back of the house, they were asking me about specifics, and because the kitchen and the back of the house got let go all the time at one time in July, and then the front of the house, they let a part of them go in the beginning before me, and then at the end. So they were always calling and asking, questions about things like that since I went through it, and I guess I'm one of the older guys there. So
probably, yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
well,
it's hard for me to realize I'm one of the older guys too.
Yeah, you still think that you're 20, 30
until I move.
Yeah,
my body reminds me of that fact.
I hear you. I'm there too, but might as well do it while we have the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about any kind of kitchen stories you want to. What's your favorite kitchen story?
I don't have any favorite kitchen.
You don't have any favorite, like some chef yelling at you or something like that? Oh, you were just your parents, huh? You got yelled at probably more than anybody in the kitchen.
I got yelled at in the kitchen, but it wasn't like professionally yelled at.
Yeah,
I probably got yelled at from you. So
yeah, probably. Yeah, but no, I personally think I was yelled at unprofessionally quite a few times from French chefs. But it's funny. I was talking to Joey, who was here before, about and my question is I can't believe chefs escaped the Me Too movement, and he said they didn't. The kitchens have completely changed.
No, they didn't at all. They got hit before.
Really?
Mario Batali, he got hit hard. Trying to think who else was there, but I know Mario Batali got hit hard, and he was roofing girls.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So and he had a huge empire.
Yeah.
So. That's the only one that comes into mind right now, but and I met him, and he was a really nice guy, at least to me. Apparently not.
I didn't know he was roofing girls. That's wrong.
Yep, and like all things, like all rich people, and it was kind of a little setup, a little conspiracy going on, and I don't know how it's gone, but. You don't see his name on anything anymore. He had his reach all the way to Las Vegas. He was huge in New York, but they had to take his name off of all the things.
Really?
I think the only thing that you can really see is Italy is still there, but his name's off of it. But a lot of those things nobody wants to associate, with that
Mario
name.
Batali, wow.
Yeah.
Well, especially after what happened with Bill Cosby. I mean, I was like, whoa.
Bill Cosby. All the anchors.
What anchors?
Anchors. What was that one guy? There's the morning CBS guy, an older guy. He was associated with a lot of sex crimes. The anchor from NBC in the morning show. I mean, let's face it, any rich person that has access, they were probably probably targets, and people that actually abused it. I mean, that woman is, a daughter, a wife, aunt. You got to look at it like these people are, real and not just sex objects. But
yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't be, mind being a sex object, but not with.
I felt like a sex object a few times, but I didn't really care, But it's. I remember, I didn't really understand most because I barely pay attention to most things in the world. But I remember this stuff came out. I was thinking that I promoted my girlfriend to sous chef, and I was sleeping with her, but it had nothing to do with that. She was a very good cook. I wouldn't have promoted her otherwise. But technically, would that be me too?
Probably.
Yeah. See, I don't. I didn't even. Well, but in kitchens, I mean, there was so much grab ass going on. Like it was just part of the thing.
Well,
until somebody didn't like it, and then it was human resources, and then someone got fired. But it was seemed like most people liked it, and most people was okay with it. At least as far as I could tell. I don't want to speak for everybody.
I wouldn't. I would say always err on the side of, if you see it, you should say something, talk to that, person and just tell them up front. But I've been on the management side since I was 26, so I see things a little bit differently. And I came from a mom and pop to being thrown into corporate, and it's totally different. The ball game's played totally different. When you're a mom and pop, it doesn't really matter. I can see somebody, like you and say, oh, you're 16 and you're very interested in food. You were 16 or 18?
Yeah, no, 16. I started at Mayflower.
Yeah, and then say, okay, let's see how much this person can actually learn, and that's fine. You do it, and say if you were a girl and I were to do that, maybe people would think, hey, this guy's just a pervert, So it matters how you're perceived, and it matters, when you take an interest that you're not touchy-feely, and it's got to be straight up. And then that also affects you. If you were 16 and you're a girl and I'm hands-on with you.
Even with I'm a guy and you're hands-on with me, I don't want that shit either.
Well, I guess that's true. But as guys, we could, we talk a different language. We can scream at each other. We can yell at each other. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we'll go outside and punch each other in the face, and then we'll go out and grab a beer or something like that.
Yeah, and then it's fine, yeah.
But, if it was a different dynamic and you were a girl and I'm a guy and I'm teaching you and you had a genuine interest and now I'm touchy-feely, then you're doubting your ability. Are you, am I paying attention to you? Because, you have a different set of privates, and it screws with your personal sense and your skill set. So, at the end, you think, well, was I good or was I just putting out? And how would you feel about that? Because to me, it's we built our careers on what we can do. And when we produce something, we have a pride and it goes out. The customer may not like it, but we produced it and we did it our way. So there's a weird sense of confidence and a weird sense of ego involved. Now, if I was a girl and I had a mentor and, I don't know if I'm copying him. I don't know if I have my sense of style and my sense of food. It screws with your mind. So I think it's a big difference. I think the Me Too movement, that's great. I think that it's a process and we have to go through it. Some people are guilty and some people are not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but I just think that a lot of people, you need to think about what you're doing, especially to another person. If they're looking up to you, you have a trust, and you don't want to throw away that trust because, you're attracted to the person, I mean, I've seen that happen all the time. And we're cooks. You know, we have a lot of vices. That shouldn't be one of them in the workplace.
I'm picking up music. You picking up music?
Yeah, I hear it, but
Hopefully, it won't come through too high. That was funny because the guy who owns this is a customer of mine, and he was telling me that the sound in my restaurant's all wrong. Got to come to my studio and do it. And I'm like, well, I probably can't get these guys to come all the way up to Tacoma, so it might not be a bad idea. Well, there's no way, like in 5 years, I haven't been able to get you to go out there.
Yeah. That's a long drive, man.
It's an hour and a half. It's not, you need to take Grace and spend the night and go to the hot springs.
You are aware that I still have 3 children, right?
Well, that one was in college.
One is in college, and then the other 2. Now the other one is about to go to college. You know.
Yeah, you can babysit, or she can babysit.
And then I still got a 10-year-old. So you know.
Yeah, she can babysit the 10-year-old. Is it a 10-year-old girl or is it
boy?
Boy, yeah. See.
Yeah. That's a lot of time. 3 hours, you know. I don't even go to Oyster Bar anymore at Palace Station because it takes about 2 hours to eat there, and that's too much time away from the family. So that's 2 hours just to get in line, wait, and get a bowl of stew, and then leave. I used to do it all the time. I
mean, you could bring the kids out, but it's a little adult, I mean, you can do it, and I've seen kids go out there, but like I always warn parents, Tacoma was established as a nudist colony, so there's no clothing law out there, so people can walk around the street butt naked, and it's not illegal. So it's not like I see it that often anymore, but every now and again you'll see it, just usually some old dude just walking around.
Yeah, that's even worse for me.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's nothing, because believe me, I've never seen like someone naked that I really wanted to see, out in Tacoma. So, but I always try to tell parents, that, some parents are open to it, some parents aren't, It all depends.
Well, you could always cook here. You're in Vegas more than I'm in Tacoma.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, do you want to see my restaurant?
Yeah, I do. But I've always been too exhausted. You know how it is. But
that's what I'm saying. They have hot springs out there. You get a room, stay the night, go soak all night, have a nice dinner.
I'm not a...
Who knows? Another kid might come along.
Yeah, I don't want that. Having another kid at 55, no, I don't think so, man.
How is Grace, by the way? How's she doing?
She's doing really good. My mom moved out of the house, so part of the renovations for the house was we had 2 rooms that we could reconvert into something else. So we did a lot of conversions. So she's got her. We have a casita that my mom used to live in, so we converted it into office, and now I have a reading room. So I feel kind of like an adult.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wow. You still the same house, huh?
Yeah, it's 15, 16 years old now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just the way you're talking, it seems like it's bigger.
Well,
I guess it's getting bigger as you start getting rid of people.
Well, it's a six-bedroom house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, it doesn't look that big from the outside.
Yeah, it's very...
deceptive.
It's fairly deep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I'll have you over... Well, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas. You're usually working.
Actually, I always take Thanksgiving off because I'm closed Thursday.
Oh, yeah?
That and there's like 3 places in Tacoma that give away Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So I don't want to compete with free food.
Well, after the pandemic and everything, maybe I'll have you over for...
Do you think this thing's going to end? I just have a feeling this is going to go along forever, like their 20-year war in Iraq. No. You realize we're on Iraqi Freedom 5?
Yeah. Well, that's... when it comes to politics and war, that's a little bit different because it's mixed in with business. But this is economics, and with all the Trump protests and everybody's not talking about protecting one another and, this and that, maybe I'm too much of a tree hugger, but I've always taught my kids, try everything that you possibly can unless it hurts you or other people.
Right.
If you're hurting somebody, then you shouldn't be doing it. So wearing a mask, does it impinge on your freedom and your rights? I don't think so if it's going to save a life. If you're going to be that selfish and you don't want to wear a mask and you don't think, well, I'm not going to get sick, but
so you're saying there's no negative aspect to wearing a mask? Because I've had doctors tell me otherwise.
Well, there are, and
I've also had doctors say that it does not stop viruses. So I don't understand how it saves anybody's life.
Well, see, that's the thing is, I don't think many doctors, especially now, if you go to, I know a few doctors, and everybody says the same thing is wear a mask. It's the only real thing that you can do now. With
I've had two doctors that come into my restaurant, and I've asked them personally. I said, "Do these masks really work?" They said, "Placebo." That's out of their word. I swear to God, I'm not lying. That's their words. Placebo. Both of them. Both the two doctors that come into my restaurant frequent, I asked them both the same thing.
I would say, don't ask those doctors if you're curious. Those are two samples that you have that are going to your restaurant. Why don't you go to a hospital and talk? Because
now you're, instead of actually getting what they think, you're getting what the medical industry thinks, or the narrative they want to tell you. That's my problem with the medical industry nowadays. I think they're on a narrative that is not of our best interest. Personally, I mean, this is just my opinion.
No. Well, that's your opinion. That's not.
But doctors did tell me that. I mean, that came out of their mouths, and I'm like, because I was like, when this whole thing started, I was confused. Like, so I would talk to the doctors and nurses that come in, and it's like, I think one nurse said you should wear them because the frontline employees wear them. That was her reasoning for doing it. Well, for frontline employees, then everybody should do it. I said that's not really what I was asking. I was just asking, does it stop viruses? Because I couldn't find anywhere it says it does.
I would say that, if it doesn't stop viruses and it's not a useful thing, okay, let's take the pandemic off the table. Why do they wear masks when they operate?
To stop bacteria.
Okay. So what's the difference?
If there wasn't a negative effect for masks, I'd agree with you 100%. But when you wear a mask, you breathe in more carbon dioxide, and you're restricting 20% of your airflow.
I'm an asthmatic, so I understand your viewpoint. It also circulates more moisture, and you can get more facial zits. But we're talking about those things versus how many people have died in the world since the pandemic has started. About 2 million.
But you're saying that masks, like in the places that had the highest mask restrictions and the highest restrictions, also breeded the highest COVID numbers?
I would not say that. I would say that if you're looking at places like New York and California, those are the places that congregate higher. They might have had, you're thinking correlational data, so when you're saying that they had the highest restrictions, do we also include that when the restrictions are there, did anybody follow the restrictions? Because on the beach in California, everybody was there. There was mass amounts of people there. Now,
I can't say for all of California, only, my little ecosystem, and everybody like that I could tell, like, I think I'm the worst, and I was wearing my mask. And I could see everybody I saw was wearing masks. I can't say for everybody in California because I don't know, but everybody I saw around was wearing masks.
They might have been wearing masks.
And then I talked to
being safe about, congregating, because mask wearing is not just the end all.
Right.
That's that's only one facet. If you're following the general idea of how this passes, I think that it's better to be safe than go going and doing whatever you think and you feel like you can do because you live in America. Well, look at UK.
So how long do you think that we should be locked down to make America safe? Because
I think that, they're saying that herd immunity is 70%, but it should be longer than that.
Honestly, I think if they shut down everything, I would agree with you. But the fact that they only shut down small businesses that couldn't afford to lobby the greedy politicians, I don't get how that's going to solve any problem. Like, why would we shut down the small businesses and keep the big businesses open where we all congregate? Because I'll go to a grocery store with 200 people, but I can't seat somebody in my dining room of 12. So I don't understand where that logic is.
Well, the logic is that restaurant and everything it's not a necessity. Whereas if you, are trying to get sustenance for your family, people are going to have to go to one place or multiple places to re-up their supplies at home.
Right, but then therein lies that you're never going to stop this.
No, once you have a vaccine, we've had pandemics before, and then they disappear. Not disappear, but they're eradicated.
Yeah, I thought we always have a coronavirus. Like, this is number 19 coronavirus.
No, it's not number 19.
Last year, we had I think it was 2000. Was it 2017 or 2018 that over 1 million people died of the flu?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say 1 million, but
I thought it was 1 million.
But
I could be wrong.
It's lower, but your point is taken. Like this year, if you look at the numbers for flu and people going in and getting taken care of the flu are dramatically reduced. It's
how can they go into the hospital and take care of the flu?
Not many people are getting sick.
I personally know 6 people out of the 150 people I live around probably 12 that had flu symptoms, swore they had COVID, and ended up getting tested and not having COVID. But those flu numbers are not going to make any lists because they didn't go to the hospital. So it's I don't know. I'm sorry for bringing it up because it's such a sore subject. I don't get it.
Well, I know of at least 6 people that have died from COVID.
Yeah.
So, and some of the crew, their grandparents, like Tong's, mom and dad, passed away, right in the onset of it. The guy that you don't like.
Which one?
The prep guy that you don't like. For some reason, it's eluding me. The guy in back that used to work with me. He used to get. No, you don't remember him. He's the little short guy with glasses. He kind of looked like a Pixar.
Oh, he was all right.
Well, his grandparents on his side, as well as his wife's side, passed away. Mm-hmm. I mean, so many people have died. A couple of the members.
So did George Floyd. George Floyd died of COVID.
Okay. That's
how they listed it, though. I mean, I don't know why they did, because I thought it was kind of silly, but that was I actually looked that up, and I was like, whoa. His original death certificate was listed as a COVID death. So shit like that makes me kind of wonder.
I think you look too much.
I definitely think that there are people that die of COVID for sure, but I think the numbers are skewed like a mother. I think every year people die of COVID, and it's just been blown out of proportion. This year. We got a whole new strain, too. I can't wait till COVID-20 comes out. Boy, that's going to be fun. Maybe we can shut down more businesses to cure it.
COVID-19 was not based on the amount of the type of or strain. It was, 2019 when it appeared. So it's not.
Oh, it's not the 19th COVID?
No.
Oh.
There are many, many types of COVID, but.
Right, the common cold is COVID. It's a COVID strain, isn't it? Common cold? I thought that was a COVID strain.
There is, yeah. Like I said, there's multiple types, but the reason why COVID is called COVID-19 is it's 2019 was when it appeared, and that's when it, infected people, and actually the way it attacks the system, it was introduced in 2019. So
how'd they figure out? Because I thought it depended on, it was very genetic. Some people got it and didn't have a symptom. Some people got it and were over it in 10 hours. Some people got it and died. Some people got in and was put on respirators and died. Some people didn't need respirators and died. Some people, I mean, it was all the kinds of different shit I keep hearing.
Yeah, it's just like, that's why these conspiracy theory things pop up is...
You mean like Jeffrey Epstein? Is he a conspiracy theory? Because that's what blows my mind when people bring that up. It's like, well, there's a lot of... I mean, do you think that's a conspiracy theory? Do you think he really killed himself?
He could have. I mean,
okay.
He could have paid somebody, because that's what they say is he paid a guard to, and he got access to killing himself. But I don't care. Was he a bad guy? I think so. So how he died, I don't care. But I don't know this. I mean, there are a lot of different things, and a lot of different people grasp onto things. When COVID started, you got to remember science is not, it's fluid. It's constantly changing. People from CDC said masks are not a good thing. Only the Chinese people are doing it. What's his name? Anthony Fauci said don't wear it. But then as, things progressed,
politically,
he's like, well, it's not political.
Pretty sure it's political.
He's probably one of the least political guys. He's run through 6
because the science hasn't changed from his initial. Like the science hasn't changed.
Science has not changed. Information has changed. Do
you mean when it became a 30-foot airborne? Because that's what, like, once it became 30-foot airborne, once they discovered that, how could masks or 6-foot distancing do any good with a 30-foot airborne virus? Right?
No, because
okay, I'm not an expert, but God knows when I got no job and an internet, I got nothing better to do. Look up why I'm unemployed.
Yeah, but how much of the internet do you actually believe in?
How much do you believe in? Why is what you see is correct, but what I'm seeing is incorrect? And I agree with you 100%. For all I know, I don't know.
Well, one thing is I had a minor in biology. That's one thing.
Right.
So I have a little bit more basis than you when it comes to medical. But 2 is anything that I see on, and this is what I teach my kids at home.
You're absolutely right, but that's why I talk to the doctors and the nurses that come into my restaurant face to face. And they're not saying the same thing that the people on TV are saying. So who am I supposed to believe, Peter?
Everybody can have an opinion, but if you see these doctors and they're working in their environment and they're not wearing masks, these doctors are dying of COVID as well. Mm-hmm. Some people say we're testing our clients and they're coming in.
Right, but if the doctors aren't wearing masks and they're still dying of COVID, maybe they know that masks aren't going to do anything.
Or maybe they're more politically incorrect than, other people.
Now we're just splitting hairs.
Well, I think things are set and based. Like, things are standardized and things are done a certain way for the safety of people. Like I was talking about sexual harassment. I'm a man. I can go out. I have urges just like any other man. But because you're a boss and you're aware of your position, I think it makes a big difference that you have the mindset that everybody will look at you differently and you'll affect other people differently if I go out and pinch tail all the time. I don't think that I'm anywhere like some of the chefs we know where all they do is go out and they abuse their power. I don't think it's an issue of being politically correct. I don't think it's an issue of,
Do you think and believe me, when it comes to, Mario Batali and giving, slipping women roofies, that's completely wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. But if a chef is using his charisma to go out with, women, it's if the woman wants it just as much as the guy, how is that abusing his power?
I think it's...
I agree if they are abusing, you have to sleep with me or you're not going to have absolutely, the guy needs to go. But if...
It's a blurred line. I think it's a blurred line, and I would always say, hey, don't shit where you eat.
Yeah, that's a very good thing.
If you want to shit where you eat, then that is your right as an American. But when you come back and you say, I don't know why I'm hitting the head all the time and I don't know why I'm puking, I could say because you're a dumbass. That's exactly, if you want to boil it down, that's what it is. Now, again, back to the internet and everything like that, it's like, don't read everything because anybody can put anything on the internet. You can put anything on print. But what I tell my children is, if you're passionate and curious about a question, then pursue it. Listen to the right side, listen to the left side. Most likely you're going to be in the gray area, but you actually have to be curious enough to actually pursue something and look at both sides. If you can't look at both sides and you don't see the argument on both sides, then you're an idiot because all you're doing is being spoon-fed a bunch of stuff that you don't know if it's right or wrong.
I agree.
That's real education, is you're educating yourself. You're not listening to some politician pontificating, be a Democrat,
virtue signaling.
It's just, and eventually all the facts will lay out, and then you can decide. Because it's very rarely that I think one side is right and one side's wrong. What you're going to find is, ultimately, don't we all want to be safe? And ultimately, if I'm just doing something and I'm affecting another person negatively, I don't think I want to do that.
But even if you're affecting yourself negatively in the process?
What is my main rule? I told my kids, I already told you, if you're hurting yourself or somebody else, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
And, one of those things is...
One of those things got to break.
If you're not breathing well, then maybe you should be on oxygen. I have my inhaler. I've got my Vicks on me. I still play sports.
Do you play sports in a mask?
Well, because of tennis, there's no contact.
But would you?
If I had to, yeah.
Do you think that's healthy? I've actually read articles where it says very unhealthy to wear a mask and exert yourself.
Is it more unhealthy for me to want to do something? And I don't have to play tennis. That's
But isn't that a way of being healthy? It's your exercise.
Again, that's not a right given to me. That versus doesn't somebody have the right to live?
But everybody's going to die. It's like we're not saving anybody's lives. Might prolong it, but you're not saving it. They're going to die. People are going to die. I think the virtue that we can save everybody is kind of like
Well, I think that I don't think that your argument, like I said, I don't think that you can argue that the numbers are skewed on COVID. You can argue this and that. Is it true or not that the hospitals are full and people are dying? Is it true or not that people that
aren't there?
Healthy?
But aren't we dying more of the lockdowns? Because I've heard that too. Suicides are off the charts. Domestic violence is off the charts. We got homeless is off the charts, and there's 3 homeless people a day are dying in LA alone.
Well,
so what lives are we saving? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I would say that because of the lockdown, we don't have any school shootings, mass school shootings anymore. We don't have congregations of going to the mall and going to a movie and some crazy person killing, So
no, they're staying at home and killing themselves. These are. I'm not making this up. They literally our suicides are off the charts. I know because my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law's sister's husband committed suicide, and the cops had a big conversation about that. Said that there's suicides everywhere, and there's no rhyme or reason. You never left a note or nothing. People are just offing themselves. Nobody talks about
it. I wouldn't say that nobody talks about it. I've got 3 kids in school. And
are they actually going to school?
Well, they're not physically going to school, but that is the conversation is, kids, especially young kids, not my age kids, but, my daughter has missed out on her senior year of, high school. Yeah. That's supposed to be that one point where, and mentally, you could tell she wants to be around people. My son is an academic mentor, in his second year, and it's saving me a lot of money in college. But he only had one real year of college, and then or one semester in college, and 3 other semesters of this online learning, and that's not supposed to be his college experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really bad.
And my, same thing with my 10-year-old. He wants to be with people, but again,
that's another thing I don't understand is like, and I thank God I don't have kids, especially nowadays, because, geez, I mean, the decisions you have to make. You're a smart guy too, but that's another thing that I heard that kids are, the whole reason of kindergarten was to put kids together to boost their immune system and get them used to, we want the different bacteria and viruses to hit each other. That's how we develop, strengthen our immune system. So is that, do you think maybe that might be a,
Well, I would think more of the learning aspect, because kids at that age, trying to teach them how to read and sound out vowels and stuff like that, it's a different learning set. When you're in a group setting, there's something called peer pressure and group learning, and there's a lot of different dynamics that are going on. So when you're talking about, maybe that's one benefit is the herd immunity. Another is they're starting on the road to
developing their social skills and stuff?
Social skills and academic skills. So they're understanding that they're not alone, and they're learning, and they're actually applying knowledge. You can talk about theoretics and stuff. There are some kids, and I've been fortunate, my kids are very, smart, and they can learn by themselves. But a lot of kids need more interaction. And my youngest, he actually thrives by learning himself, and then he's very patient, and he's an excellent teacher. So he won't teach and give the kids the answer, which most kids would do, to see them to that end product, but he'll teach them enough and allow them to get to that point. And I'd like to think that I had something to do with that, because I love that about my youngest son is he's an excellent teacher. I can recognize that when he was maybe like 6 or 7. I could tell he had more patience than I had, in teaching. And I just thought a kid with a gift like that, he should be around other kids. I can see him being an academic or a teacher, or whatever he wants to be, but he's excellent socially. And I don't, he didn't get it from his mom. I know he didn't get it from me, but he got the focus from, I think, me and his mom, and he picked it up on himself.
You're very social.
I'm
not so much Grace, but you're social.
I'm not so good. And I've got walls, like I said, because I was put in management early on, like 26, 27. There's a lot of walls that I won't cross. A lot of chefs I know, they have no problem crossing those, but for me, it's like, well, I want to know that, I've been fortunate. I had a lot of people like you and John and a lot of people that have succeeded, and, we're still friends. It's hard to be friends with people that you work with when you're the chef or you're the boss. And I think we respect each other. We might have totally different viewpoints, like you and I.
Oh yeah.
But there's a respect there, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I got. Honestly, I hate it when you disagree with me, because then
we disagree all the time.
I know, but I like to think of myself as right all the time, and every time you disagree with me, I start second guessing myself, which I should.
Well,
I should, because you're a smart guy. You know a lot of shit.
I would say, that's.
But it's like, oh man, he doesn't agree with me. Damn it.
I would say that we agree seriously. I've known you for such a long time. I think we probably disagree on 80% of everything that we know, but we respect each other. I would say like 95%.
Oh yeah.
there's always that little doubt, like, what the fuck? But I totally respect you. I respect your ability. I respect your palate. It's hard to find somebody like that. And even though, I don't buy into a lot of your conspiracy things, I don't, and like I said, that's me and that's you. But that you have doubt and that you have a passion for
I question
ideas.
everything.
Well, there's very little that I don't question. That's why you think that I'm smart. It's not really I'm smart. I pursue it a little bit farther than most people. My wife always says, why aren't you ever satisfied with stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea why I'm not satisfied. I've had a good career. But there's a part of me that says when we do things, I want to see it, and I want to see a good, complete picture. I'm never going to see the whole picture, but if I can see 80% of the picture, I can make my idea, my opinion, and it will be informative. It won't be I'm watching TV and I'm reciting everything off of CBS. Or no, I don't want to watch CBS. Now I'm watching Fox or CNN. I'm not a fucking parrot, Same thing with the internet, If they give me an idea, I want to follow it through. And is it true or not? George Floyd, Epstein, Batali, we won't know, but we'll know that this person was convicted. We'll know that Black Lives, movement was pushed pretty far by George Floyd,
Which I thought was, when it first came out, they were telling people not to hike. I thought they were protesting the Bureau of Land Management. That's how little I pay attention. I was like, nice, they're protesting the hiking. Let's go hiking. Didn't know what the hell was okay, never mind.
Okay.
Bureau of Land Management was there first. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, especially in Nevada, California, yeah. But that's the whole thing is I watch news and I read news and I like to be informed.
How do you know what's bullshit and what's real? Most of that shit, like you'll have one news site that contradicts another news site. Which one's true?
No, everybody has an opinion, and that's
the thing. Like, why are they even? I don't want their opinion. I want facts.
Their truth is never about one fact. The truth that you see and the truth that I see, we can see one event and still apply it to our knowledge and see it a certain way. But, what you understand as facts and reporting, those are the events that were perceived. Now you've got to find out what happened during those things. If you just listen to one person's viewpoint, I think and you're basing all your beliefs on that one person. Like, I'm a Democrat, but I don't believe all Democrats. I definitely don't believe in Republicans and Trump's and supporters and all that. I believe in what actually happened, how the progression of events happened, and then what was the end result. And then I'll tell you.
Do you think the election was legit?
Yes, I do.
Wow. You're the one.
I don't believe that with all the people that have gone out and voted. So, this voting cycle, what was it? Maybe like 37% of all
Do you think that the mail-in ballots not requiring ID, is that necessary?
I don't think mail-in ballots, this and that. I believe that the amount of people that voted, period, was probably the second highest in
he got more votes than any president in the history of the United States. Trump did as a sitting president, and then Biden beat him, even though Biden can't seem to sell out an arena. But you think what you want.
See, that's where we totally disagree.
That's a fact. He got more votes than any other president in the world, in the U.S. history. Trump got the most as a sitting president, and then Biden beat him. More than Obama, more than Reagan, more than anybody else. Amazing.
See, nobody that I know, well, that's not true. And again, part of my family are Trump supporters. Part of my family hate Trump.
I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm an independent. But I sure as hell I voted for Kanye. If you must know, I'm not going to vote for some guy who had just had a brain transplant twice, or brain operation, whatever the hell he had worked on in that crazy head of his. And then there's Trump. Like, who the fuck wants to vote for him? I don't know.
Well, I know people that have worked for Trump, before he was president, and before he was president, they're like, we're probably going to go into a war. This guy. But
he's the only president in my lifetime that didn't go to war.
We were always in the war. You just said, unless you call,
right?
Iran
He didn't invade another country. Every other president did. Went to war. Every other president we had did. That's a fact. Because I said that at the beginning, because I thought for sure that guy was going to go to war. And I said, I remember telling that friend of mine who's a Trumper, I was like, you know what? If that guy doesn't go to war after 4 years, I'll be happy. So I'm happy. The guy didn't fucking go to war.
So he didn't go to any type of economic war with China?
Trade war? I wouldn't really call that a war, Peter.
Well, I wouldn't consider a lockdown,
communism?
No.
I would call that communism.
Well, when you talk about locking down the economy, it has a ripple effect, right? When you
is that China getting back at us for the trade war?
When you go into China and you basically know that they have so many assets in America, and you basically say we're going to sanction these things.
So you're saying we should be afraid of China?
I should hope we're afraid of China. I think we should be afraid of Russia as well. I think we should be afraid of
Why are
Iran.
we? Can I ask you a question? Just like I was confused. Why are we scared of Russia? We never actually went to war with Russia. We've never had any conflicts against Russia. We just had some glorified Cold War that we never did anything.
Well,
they were our allies in World War II.
You're talking about past things. When you ally and you partner up, for a common cause, you'll find that those common causes, when that is achieved, you'll diverge back to what you're normally used to. But you don't believe that Russia's hacked us? You don't believe that Russia...
I think China's more likely to hack... I don't know, but I think China's more likely to hack us than Russia.
Well, shouldn't...
I think they have the resources and the means and the reason to do it because they're so invested in our country as it is.
Well, see, that's the whole point is when you have an opinion, you should pursue it. If you're saying that and you seem passionate about it, I know for a fact...
I'm not really about... I mean, I think we're very hackable, and I think, quite frankly, we hack more countries than countries actually hack us. But I think it's possible. I don't really know. It's hard to tell about that. It's not, and that's not something I'm more concerned with this COVID thing. That's why I did as much, read up as much as I could, because that adversely affects my business now. Like, whether or not the China or Russia is hacking our country, there's nothing I can do about it. But this is that's why I don't really, I'll discuss it if you want, but like the mask and everything, I've read a lot about that stuff and COVID and stuff. So I don't, that's why I tend to argue more about it. But I don't know. I mean, do I think Russia hacked us? The only reason why I don't think Russia did is because the news is saying we did, and I don't believe the news anymore. I really don't. I think they're a bunch of bullshit.
So you believe in fake news?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't believe in fake news.
You don't believe in fake news?
Right.
You said that you don't believe news reports.
I don't believe in the fake news that's on TV now. Yeah, I don't believe it.
Okay.
So.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
I don't think they're very credible, personally. And I've watched a lot, and I have been watching a lot but I just shut it off. I had to. Too much hate, too much fear-mongering. I just think they're just stoking fire, and everybody's biting on it. But, whatever.
I think that there's a lot of sensationalism. I don't know about, like I said, events unfold, and you can look at two diametrically opposed viewpoints on the same situation that happened, and you can take what you can from both situations. I think that's how you create. That's how your brain grows, and that's how you mature. Like I said, they report what they see. They report what they believe.
They read a prompter is what they do. That's all they do is read a prompter. And whoever is putting in this, I mean, 6 people own every media outlet in the U.S. In the world, I think. Maybe it's the world. I don't know. It's something like 6. A very small amount of people own all the news.
Okay. And so you're digesting only what they want you to digest?
I'm digesting history because American history back in Hirsch. When we like in the early 1900s, we had the monopolies of this country. It was like a big deal. We had J.P. Morgan. We had the other guy, and then we had William Hirsch, I think his name was. He owned all the newspapers in the country. Mm-hmm. He basically owned the media outlets, all of them, because there was just newspapers at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's where we came up with the monopoly laws that were, I think, changed 10 years ago, of allowing one person to own all the media because he basically could do whatever he wanted, spread whatever rumor he wanted to affect the market, to make money. And, it's an information, so if you control the information going out, you can tell people whatever they want. What do they have to disbelieve it from? If you are literally narrating everything people read, you can make up whatever you want. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe it's conspiracy now. Maybe, I don't know all the facts. You're right. But I know for a fact it happened back then. So why not? Why wouldn't history repeat itself? It seems like it always does.
You have to be a student of history to know these things, but history does repeat itself in different ways. Things don't happen exactly the same as they did before. What you're talking about is conglomerates, changing things, and if they're trying to affect the stock market, like I said, I've.
It's just like everybody in the last 9 months that made money were poor people got very poor, and people that were well off got very rich.
So I just told you that I made money, so I'm a rich person.
But you're not one of the poor guys. I hate to tell you this. You did very well for yourself in your life, and you were not one of us.
I was worse than you.
Well, yeah, one time, yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point is you save your pennies, and if you're conservative in thought and just by your actions, if you are consistent, you'll always, do well in the end. There's no big moves. There's no big players. Now, the 1 to 5%ers that you're talking about, they have grown and they've made more money, and they know the game better. Instead of speculating and stuff like that, you should know the game better because, tennis. But
the problem I see, and again, this is just me. This is nothing, lucky you. You get to dive into this brain. No, but the problem I see is that if they're doing so well with the pandemic, they're never going to end it. Why would they? They're capitalists. They're all about making money. I don't care what anybody says. They're not about anybody. They're all about making money. That's how you get $1 billion, and that's how you keep wanting to get more after $1 billion. Like, honestly, if I had $1 billion, I would not want $100 billion because why? But that's me. I don't have that drive that these guys do. So when I see that they're doing really well and the economy's doing shitty and we're all doing shitty, it scares the crap out of me because I don't see an end, because why would they?
I would say there's going to be an end by summer or Christmas.
Ugh.
And I'm just going to tell
Christmas?
you Well,
of next
you said that there's never going to be an end.
And that is pretty much endless.
So,
Jeez.
But are you talking
and as in what?
It feels like not the end? Or
you mean like we can actually go to a concert Christmas?
I feel like there's more normalcy will be applied The only problem that I worry about is that if we don't invest money back into R&D, to medicine, to politics, that they don't apply, another virus, not particularly COVID, will, come up, because our reinvestment in America, from infrastructure to medicine to R&D, it's been minimal. Our capitalistic views of how we should gain money and how stocks should be always rising, I think that's unrealistic. So when you're talking about material wealth, there's no real investment in the furtherment of everybody doing well. So I believe in your view slightly. Yours is much more extreme. People that are exceptionally wealthy, they are never satisfied, and they want to do this, but want to gain more power. And sometimes power is not money. That's, I think, one of the confusing points that you have is power is power, and there are many ways to acquire power than money. Okay?
Fear being the most common, I would think, huh?
I guess you can do fear, and, I've never thought that I was going to run out and, fear not having toilet paper.
I know, right? Isn't that weird?
And I don't think anybody in the toilet paper industry was saying, I can't wait till this pandemic and
to make a fortune. Yeah, I know.
But that was not planned. At least I've never heard of any conspiracy theories on that. But this pandemic has been due for 20 years. My wife works for insurance, and they've been giving us lists for pandemic since the avian flu. I want to say around 2003 to 2005. And
so it's just coincidence that it happened to be an election year.
Well, the election year I don't think has anything to do with anything. But
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the election year with stocks and it being a
why are stocks going up? That doesn't make sense. It seems like it should go down.
60%, I told you in the beginning, have not done well. Like Pfizer.
Right, I did say that.
Pfizer is a big company. They're rolling out vaccines, but they're flat, if not in the red. But smaller companies like Moderna, they, if you bought in, they've doubled up. So you have to be on the right side of investments. And some of it has to do with smaller companies. Some of it has to do with how people are ready to be involved and are responsible into responding to problems, But what I was saying about the pandemic was that this was, I think I even told you when you were working there, is save your pennies now, because the insurance companies have given my wife a list on, I've got $100 in singles at the house because, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were saying that when everything goes down, they don't believe that you can use electronic cards like credit cards and debit cards. Everything that's going to happen will be based on monetary transactions. Now, nobody foresaw that when the pandemic happened, monetary money was, no longer really valid. Coins was the thing that nobody had, not singles. But everybody thought, again, this is what they just predicted was, when we go out and we buy bread, we're going to have to do it in singles because nobody's going to be able to break up hundreds of dollars. You put down a $100 bill, nobody's going to be able to break it. You have to have like 5 singles to buy bread. But what happened? Nobody can use coins. So you can't foresee these things, but that's what they told us to do. They told us to.
Well, actually, they said that the mint was running out of coins.
The mint was running out of coins, and plus there wasn't enough face-by-face transactions to, the flow of coins had stopped.
So were they lying to us when they said that?
No, I believe that.
We were actually running out of coins?
Well, it wasn't running out of coins. I think it was people had stockpiled coins, so they weren't burning off coins like they usually did. whereas everybody used credit cards or everybody, that had money used up whatever.
I started giving them exact change. I figured I'd just give some change back.
Well, if you could do that, there was a period like a couple of weeks where, people were demanding exact amount or credit cards because they didn't have any coins.
Yeah, there was like some fast food place where like, would you like to round up?
Yeah.
And not give. I'm like, no, you can give me my change. You can round down if you want. Cheap bastards.
Well, I think those are reactions because things weren't moving. Just like, many other things weren't moving. We had a run on toilet paper because everybody was hoarding paper, toilet paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had plenty, but I buy it from the restaurant depot store.
Yeah.
So, I don't, they never ran out of toilet paper. I don't.
They had many different varieties. I think it's just we were entitled and we wanted our Charmin or our name brands or our wet
It was
wipes.
great to own a bidet company about that time.
Yeah, I don't know.
That all shot up. Everybody's buying bidets.
Yeah. My wife had talked about it before, but my wife thinks ahead. We've had solar power for 10 years now or whatever it is because she had the forethought for it. But she talked about bidets before the pandemic. She's wanted one for 3 years now. And I'm like, I got to hire an electrician. We've got to hire a plumber. We've got to do this. And just so that you'd have a warm butt or, have this
I think your wife
up.
is worth it, Peter.
She can have whatever she wants. But we have discussions and, they're relatively intelligent, but she believes a little bit too much on the internet. And that's why
I already like her. Oh. You know what my problem is? And you're right. I have been jumping into conspiracies, but I argue with people. Misinformation causes conspiracy theories. If like Fauci, who came out and said that there's no mask, and then later on said, we were lying to you. We just didn't want you to use the mask. Isn't that what he said?
I disagree. No, he
didn't say that.
He never said that we were lying. He said that he was more concerned that his viewpoint, and I've heard this multiple times, is he was more afraid that the frontline workers would not have the PPE available if everybody had masks.
Right. So that's why he told everybody not to wear masks.
Yeah,
and he told everybody masks were unnecessary, wouldn't do any good.
And
so that was a lie.
No, that wasn't a lie. That was. How can you tell me?
How come that's not a lie?
That's not a lie. That's you.
He's misinforming the public so they don't use the mask.
That's not true. It's like talking to you when you're 16 and talking to you now about food. You don't have all the experience and all the information that you have. That's the same thing with the pandemic. Is you expect that he's the expert and he
said he gave an excuse why he said that. He actually
lied. He never said he lied.
No. You just told the excuse why he lied because to save masks for the frontline employees. He came out and said that. That's why I said that. I didn't want people using it. That's a lie.
No, he didn't think that.
He lied. All right, whatever. Moving on.
I think that's what you think is one person that's in charge will know exactly what they're supposed to do. When you were in charge and you opened up your own restaurant, did you know that you were going to make exactly this much money at the end of the year than when you first started? You're from the growth of the beginning to the end, but I don't think that you give people that, I
never lied in the beginning about. I never lied to my customers about anything. I didn't tell them that all my vegetables came from local farms. Even though I put local farm on my sign and they would come in, and I would always tell them, I try to get most of it, and I would tell them sometimes it's 20%, sometimes 80%. Whatever it was at the time, that's what it was. I did not lie to my customers.
So you put out a narrative, and then
I told them exactly what I do for their food, what they're eating. I didn't lie. I was straight up.
On your advertisement, you said local farms.
Farm to table, I said.
farm to table.
Right, which I do use farm to table.
So it should say farm to table, varying days depending on availability.
No, because I still use farm to table. That's not a lie. If I put 100% farm to table, that would be a lie. And I never say it was 100% farm to table. And when people ask me, "Oh, you get all your vegetables from local farms?" No, I don't.
But it got you in here.
That's right.
So it's a lie.
It's not a lie.
See?
It's not a lie.
See,
it's not a lie.
When it comes to
it's
how
your
you
perceiving.
No, I don't perceive it as I'm taking the devil's advocate because I understand your
That's not a lie. I'm not lying to my customers like Fauci lied to the American people.
Oh, see. I believe that there are people that have done their best to do,
You really think that these people have our best interests at heart?
I think.
God, I wish I thought like you did.
Political. Well,
I think Fauci finally found a way to get a baseball game to himself, that little bastard. Yeah, good job, buddy. Nobody's allowed to go to the baseball game except for you. Piece of shit.
see,
Ugh.
that's a very
Yeah.
stupid perspective. There's nothing that I could say. You think that he would trade in going to see a baseball game by himself versus all the death threats that he got from people that are...
Perhaps you have not met Boston Red Sox fan as I have, Peter.
See, now you're being stupid. So,
It's true, though. These guys are fucking hardcore. I do not put it past Fauci for... I don't know. I don't know. You're asking my opinion now because neither one of us know exactly what's going through that guy's head.
I don't think anybody that has a family would put anybody in their family in jeopardy for a self-interest of,
I think everybody in those high offices are nothing but self-interest. I don't think you can get to those positions without having 100% self-interest. But like I said, I wish to God I thought like you.
Well, I've been in position of high authority, and
Not
I've
like
been
that.
in
Not in a
positions-
public office.
Not in public office, and there's a difference between when you've been doing. All I can say is I feel that when I'm in a position, and I've been in a position for a long time, that I affect other people's lives, and whether it's good or bad, I always try for the good, and I apologize if I've done bad, but for 90% of it, I would say that I've tried to be positive in another person's life as well as mine. If I feel like there's a negative response to it, or there could be a negative response, I try to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to be perceived as I led you down the wrong road and I put, $100,000 in the stock and, now I'm bankrupt because of you.
Yeah, but you're a great boss.
No,
okay,
that has nothing to do. I don't think that that has anything to do. If you have an idea of what you want to be and how you want to affect people, I'm the guy that's never satisfied. So I know I can try to do better. I've tried to do better. Like I said, in the people that are around me, I can't do better for everybody, but
right.
The people that affect my life and I affect their life. If they want to listen to me and, I pontificate and I say my ideas. And if you turn around and you say, you know what, Pete, I think you're full of shit, and I say, you know what, that's your viewpoint. Don't listen to me, but there are other people that because I am maybe a good boss or I'm a good cook or they think I'm a good person, they'll listen. And I can only hope that when I direct them in a way, I want to see everybody do well, and when some of these guys that work below me, now they're big time chefs and this and that only makes me feel good. And they're, if they're making more money or they're more famous or whatever it is, that makes them happy. My thing is, I was a small part of that. I think most bosses, that's what they want.
See, I agree with you, kinda. Like I literally think that there's bosses like you out there, and you do make great bosses, but it doesn't seem like to me, and this is just my perspective, that we don't ever get great bosses like you in high positions, like a CEO or like a senator or running our country, because it takes a self-centered and I think partly psychotic personality to get to positions of that. You know, it's so much arrogance to get that high up. Look at you. I mean, you're content. You've done great things, but you're like you got Trump, who's a total egomaniac. 74 years old, he's still not done. Like, at what point do you go, hey, why don't I just enjoy my family? I got plenty of money. That's you. But that's you're not that egomaniac. You're not that psychotic.
See, that's where you didn't listen to me in the beginning. Is, I think I'm like a lot of those people. I think if you're a boss, you have to be like those people. You're a boss, and you only want your restaurant to succeed. You want to talk to your clientele. You want to spread out your gospel and your idea of food. You want the people working around you not to be miserable. It's all the same. You don't think that I'm an egomaniac, but I can tell you, if you talk to my family, they probably would disagree with you because, I'm a tennis player. I'm a chef.
But
I'm
do you want a big wall named after you?
I had a restaurant named after me on the Strip.
That's true.
So,
that's a good name, though.
Well,
that's a good name for
the whole point is, I think I am a big egomaniac, and it doesn't make me feel proud to say it, but you have to have pride in what you do. You can't tell me that you're not proud that you put out food and put out product and put out an experience in your restaurant. You're just doing it for the money? No. I really do enjoy it a lot. You're a fucking egomaniac, man.
I think so, yeah. It is a very selfish thing because I do this because I love it, not because... a selfish thing, I guess, but then it's not about money. I don't know.
But my point is, to be successful like those bosses, you have to be an egomaniac. You have to enjoy what you do. You have to have a philosophy. They could be politicians and bullshitters, and they could be spooning you a bunch of bullshit. But I think for the most part, if they didn't do it, I don't think they could make money doing other things than being a politician, than being this. They want to affect change, and I would have to say that Republicans, Democrats, Independents, they all want one thing, and they want people to do well. Now, they might think, I only want a smaller demographic to do well, or I want people that I know to do well, but they want people to do well and prosper. And
who?
Everybody.
I mean, wants what people to do well and prosper? Because they sure as hell don't want small businesses to prosper.
That's a residual effect. You still have a job. I don't. I still believe.
I don't even know what you talk about. I have a job thanks to a sheriff's department that is fucking amazing.
Okay, but you're whatever the circumstance is, you're still working and you're still producing and you still have the ability to do it. If anything, sitting here, I should be the one that's more bitter. But
I know
you sound bitter.
I know. That thought has crossed my mind, Peter, a few times in this discussion. But I'm trying to keep an open mind, and
I'm not bitter. I wish, like I said, the first 3 months, I was very grateful that I had the time. I got to recharge. After that, like now, I would love to be working.
I will say this: I'm never going to drink Pump Jack again.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking
Governor
about.
Newsom's wines.
Okay. Well,
the autocrat that runs California.
Well, you can blame the governors for this and that. You can do whatever. I think they're trying to do the best they can.
Right before they go to French Laundry with no mask on.
You say that they're doing the highest restricted state right now with all the restrictions, and you guys are the ones that have the worst numbers right now. Before it was New York, and he turned it around. and he was a dictator. He closed down everything.
You really think it's him that turned it around?
Oh,
didn't he send everybody to the retirement homes and kill about 20,000 senior citizens?
I think.
Or did that not hit your news line?
I think he. Well,
I mean, that's 20,000 of the deaths literally could have been avoided had he not been an idiot.
I think that he did the best he could. And
in his basement? Good job. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't live in New York. I live in California, and I don't think closing small businesses is a cure for any virus. I just can't wrap my head around it. Nor can I ever wrap my head around the fact that closing everybody down, telling them to stay indoors, wrapping a mask on their face, telling them not to exercise, don't hike, and only eat fast food, to-go food, in the most obese country in the world, is ever going to be healthy for us? I can't buy that for any reason. But okay.
No. Again, your perspective is always interesting. I think that you always find, the negative. You always want to fight against authority, and that's your take on things. It's an interesting perspective. Like I said, I like to think, in the better. I like to, try to understand that, people try to do their best. They're going to do stupid things. They're going to affect people positively and negatively. But ultimately, I think they try. And, I think you find too much negative. You're churning up and finding excuses why they're doing something bad. I don't believe that
I can't find anything they're doing well. Other than they gave me, I can serve to-go alcohol right now. But, I mean, my 12-seat restaurant has been turned into a McDonald's for 9 months in the middle of the Mojave Desert in a town of a population of 100. Somehow that's a COVID risk. Maybe you can find something positive about that. I sure as hell can't.
Like I said, for a person that's still working, you're a lot more bitter than a person that hasn't been working for almost a year now.
Well, I'm working illegally. I'm a criminal. I've never paid taxes on time and broke the law at the same time. Oh. This is a first for me.
I wouldn't say that it's a first for you.
Well, it's the first that I paid taxes on time and broke the law. It's not the first that I did either one. Just at the same time, this is the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I was paying for my licenses at full price. I was paying for all this stuff thinking, why am I paying full price when I'm like...
Well, and, like I said, it's that time of, that season, that sometimes you have to go through these seasons, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Mayflower was never, we've been open for 30 years with one version or another. If you count managing food, then, that's 40 years. We've had some type of responsibility, and I think not all of those have been successful, or I wouldn't be sitting with you. I'd be on a yacht somewhere. But I know money has gone through the restaurant, and we've been successful for doing dumb things. Chinese and French. Who would have thought that was, a thing? But for foodies, it was a thing. And now it's very commonplace. But when we did it, it was weird, know?
It was cool. I remember when I first started at the Mayflower, and you were telling me about it. And I was like, that was before the French restaurant. You were telling me to go to Andre's afterwards because you really got into French cuisine. That was a long time ago.
As an amateur cook, yeah. I mean, I was professional in terms of paying, but again, you could see who was curious and who was doing it as a job. And, as much as we wanted to do different things, I was strapped to the restaurant and my family. But I'm glad that you went out and you experienced more things. Later on, those things happened for me where, because I was with the family, I got different opportunities. But I think that was many years after you had left. You were out there in in the thick of it, learning from real professionals.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky with Jean-Louis. I really got lucky with him. And Andre. I think Andre was. So were you. I lucked out that at 16 years old, I was learning from Peter Wu. I was learning you taught me how to use a knife.
I think that
10-inch vegetable cleaver. I'll never forget that.
I think luck has to do with being open. And if you're not open, and I think that's my main takeaway in this conversation is be open and positive. Because when you're negative and closed off, I don't think it benefits you or anybody else. But I remember young Eric being open and positive and trying everything. Even this Eric that I'm talking to now, you're very open to many things, but you are closed off to so much as well.
True. I mean, but at one time I was open. I just at some point you have to make a decision. You can't just
I think I'm just as positive now than
you seem pretty closed off about certain issues.
I think it, like you said, experience dictates certain things. Like when we talk about finances, I don't think that there's a lot of different ways to make money. I think there's, I've watched my mom make tons of money, and she doesn't have that much. And it's because of her philosophy in life that it's led her down to different things. Now, I'm not the richest man in the world, but I haven't worked in a year and I'm okay because I foresaw different things. Nobody could foresee something this bad. I don't think any business or any politician or any world leader, could, they're smart enough to construct something like this. If anything, if something was released, it would backfire and blow them in the face. That's my opinion. And like I said, I'm not much into conspiracy theories. I see some things that play out, and I think, oh, that was terrible. Yeah, I think that was a true conspiracy. I think a lot of it is grasping for things and being negative. And that's just my take. I mean, I can only, even if it happened, you can only look to what you can do and what positive steps you're going to take.
That's
for your
true.
future.
Being pissed off at a situation you have no control over is pointless and a waste of energy.
I grew up in Las Vegas, as a Chinese guy, and I don't think that if I would have taken your perspective, I would have been much more bitter because I got beat up.
Because you're Chinese?
The only Asian people that I grew up in high school, the apex of my career in Las Vegas for academics, my sister and my cousin were the only Chinese people in my high school at El Dorado. So
that's true. There weren't too many Asians.
But then later on, when my brother's age, and you're closer to my brother.
93, I graduated.
I think you're.
There was a mix of white, Latin, and black for the most part, but no, there are a few Asians. I'm 45 now.
45. So my brother's older than you. He's going to be 50. By the time he went to high school or middle school, he already had a group of like 8 Chinese friends. So 5 years difference for me and 5 years difference from you to him, it was a huge difference. Now, my kids, they go to school, and my youngest kid, I think 40 to 45% of kids that go to his elementary school are Asian. But they group us all together. I was talking specifically Chinese. I had one Japanese friend, one Korean friend. So you're talking about 5 Asian people in a high school, and our high school was relatively large at El Dorado. And that was in high school. In elementary school, I might have had one friend or 2 friends that were any type of Asian. So everybody thought I was Vietnamese, and everybody hated me because their brother or their uncle died.
Died in Vietnam?
Yeah, and I'm like, no, man, I'm Chinese, man. I had to defend myself just, to say, I'm the chink that built the railroad.
Jeez, even if you were Vietnamese, why would it be your fault?
I'm from 8 to 18 or whatever it is, but it doesn't matter. You're racist, whatever. You're gonna beat up on something and think you're to blame. And that's my point is people that are negative, they're going to put blame on other people all the time. You cannot affect change like that. You can try to defend it, but, all you can do is defend yourself and go to the positive, and hopefully things will work out. Because being negative, you want to blame, minorities for taking white jobs.
But it's not like
it could.
I mean, you can't say that everything in the world is going to be positive. I mean, some things are going to be negative.
I think to be successful, you focus in on what you can. You have to be somewhat pessimistic. Like I said, I foresaw the pandemic because my wife's company said something's going to happen. The system's going to break down. Be prepared with a month's worth of food, $100 single bills, these things. And somebody saw that 20 years ago.
Or if you're a conspiracy theorist, they planned it. But hey, however you want to perceive it.
Yeah, that's
How did they know?
Because they work in health insurance. They are in the business of health. They knew what was coming in terms of how things were working. We were very lucky. I would say the same thing for the stock market. If you want to know about stocks, why don't you talk to not me or any other schmo that's done well? Talk to a financial wealth consultant, somebody that understands the flow of things. When you say 9 months, when the stock market drops, and based on my experience and based on talking to the guy, every 9 months it will correct itself. So,
Why?
That's just the general trend of the history of the stocks.
You know what I never understood, and this is going to be a stupid question, so I'm going to prepare you for it. Okay, who actually puts the numbers up on the board? Like, who inputs the numbers?
Of the
stock market. The stock market. Somebody physically puts numbers on the stock market. How do those numbers get affected?
Nobody data entries anything anymore. Now it's based on real time. So when there's purchases and sales interactions.
So an AI decides how much the stocks are?
It's supposed to be reporting it. Yes. Do they generate futures? I don't think so. Do they, are there ways to cheat the system? Yes. By having faster internet speeds than any regular person or a smaller company, they will get the information faster. Therefore, they can make purchases or transactions quicker. So
insider trading, right? That's what insider is?
It's not considered inside trader, but it excludes people that are not wealthy from the actual benefits, the larger benefits of the stock market. But that's not what you're playing when you're playing the stock market, hopefully, and you're not being emotional about purchases. You can have an intuition about purchasing, but you're supposed to leave your money in when it's low. And in 9 months, if you have positive faith, then you'll see your gains return or, the value return. It's not always the case. Like some stocks, when they tank, they disappear and you lose money.
Do you understand, because I never really understood 2007. Like it just seemed like the
recession.
The stock market crashed, and you just throw a bunch of money in it, and then the stock market goes up again. I don't understand. I think Donald Trump, when the first stimulus, he dumped a bunch of money into the stock market. How does that work? Or was I wrong about?
I'm not sure about the situation you're talking about and what you're referring to for the 2008.
Yeah, the 2000, whatever the crash was, the housing crash.
Okay, so you have to talk to somebody a little bit more adept, but 2008 happened because a bunch of people didn't throw it necessarily in the stock market, but it was a bubble burst. So people were buying assets. What I saw was I had family and friends invest in. Part of it was politics in terms of how they bought homes. So a lot of the bubble that burst was because it was speculation, and I know people that had 6 homes. I knew strippers that had 4 or 5 homes, but they only had enough money to cover the nut in terms of each payment, and they were depending upon other people paying them to keep their assets viable. So when everything tanked and, we didn't have business, the recession happened, all these things where money wasn't flowing again, suddenly, there was nobody to pay the rent. Suddenly it was a domino effect of a lot of things. So what you're talking about, Trump throwing in money, I don't know anything about that.
I thought the first stimulus bill, part of it was that he...
In 2008.
No, this was, I'm sorry, this was,
okay.
Yeah, he wasn't even involved.
So you're talking about...
The first stimulus, I think, of 2020.
So when they're giving us money, it was basically to get the economy going because of lockdown, everything started slowing down. So once money was in the hands of people that needed it or in anybody's hands, they would start the economy, not start it, but keep it flowing. So they knew that, nobody wanted a lockdown, but that is what had to happen in terms of their perspective. So they gave stimulus checks so that people would still spend, whether it was to go, whether it was to keep bare necessities like beans and rice, getting into the hands of people that needed to be fed. That money was there, and this is the second round, and there's debate, but economists believe that if there isn't a stimulus package, they can see how jobs are being lost, and the economy will be negatively impacted because there'll be less money flowing into all the viable stores that are.
Yeah, but I mean, who gets the money? I mean, how does that even work? You just give it to the big companies? The stock market, the ones that are, I guess, control the stock market?
Nobody. It's not supposed to go to stock markets. It's supposed to go to, some businesses, like small businesses like yours can apply.
Got denied. Everything.
Maybe you didn't have enough employees or it was self-generated. I don't know.
I didn't have any lobbyists was my reasoning on it.
Well,
but that's, you can have your perspective too.
Well, basically it depends on who you're serving and how many people you're serving. So if you're a big impact to the economy in your area, maybe, they would support you more or less. Like I said, I think in the very beginning, they're a little bit more stringent. Then they started loosening controls. Like when people started laying off people in the beginning of January, I think those people were, it was harder for them to get, pandemic unemployment relief quicker. But when March 18th hit or whatever, 13th, and, there were massive amounts of people, then they loosened restrictions. So, again, it's not one point. It's as we progress, you got to keep trying because things will change as progression happens and people will learn. And there's some people that still haven't gotten, their pandemic relief fund, and there's some people like me. Since I was the second wave, I've been getting mine, but
I got denied. I got turned down
because you're self
small business.
Yeah, but you should
supposed to be under blue collar now in the state of California.
Well, try it again for your small business fund again because the initial time that you did, you got rejected.
I did actually. That new thing that came out,
okay.
They did it, and I haven't heard anything back yet, actually. No, yeah, that's right. No, I haven't heard yes or no.
Well, that was recent. So hopefully with luck, you'll get something.
Supposedly, they were supposed to let us know by January 13th, but nothing. I haven't gotten anything back. I don't know. I'm not really holding my breath.
Well,
just happy I got a job. You're right. I am happy I got a job.
Well, like I said, a lot of people, the people with jobs, they're all complaining that there's not enough people around. There's not enough team members around, and they're doing double duty. And now they're going through after CES, which went virtual, and we didn't see anything. Now they're cutting down from working 5 days to 4 days, and they're getting smaller shifts. So, people that are working harder. People that aren't working, we would love to work, but we'd be going back to work and serving nobody. So again, if people started coming and the vaccines were out and everybody was healthy again, I feel like I would have a job.
I honestly think people, just give the green light, people will go.
I believe so too, because after the 2008 recession, things happened again in Vegas rapidly. And I believe that we're all on standby because I'd love a vacation. I've been on vacation for like a year, but I'd love to go to Canada if they accepted me because they didn't think I was a stupid American and I was sick. I'd love to take a trip on a cruise, and do something like that, but it's just not happening. And once
you can take a cruise out of Florida. Florida's open.
Well, yeah, but what happened when they released a couple of cruise lines and everybody was sick again. So they started reporting sicknesses, and then they had to come back to port. And I just would veer on the side of being careful because
the odds of going on a cruise and not having someone get sick is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, you're on top of each other.
Yeah, it's going to happen. That's the risk you take of taking a cruise.
Yeah.
Not to mention the vomit. Gosh. Try covering that up with a mask.
Doing cruises and doing buffets and doing stuff like that, I think it's something in the distant future. But through the pandemic, like I hear gyms have now become much more sanitary and much more safe for people to go out, work out, sweat, and then sanitize their stations before another person goes. If you only look at
they should have done that. I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm a dirty bastard. But when you sweat, you wipe it down, and if they have spray, I'll spray it down. But they don't have spray, I don't bring spray. Yeah. But I certainly wipe my sweat off. That's the equipment and stuff.
It's supposed to be better now, and you can only look at hopefully look at the positives of how things are affecting, because there are a lot of.
There's also there's very strict guidelines you have to follow to work out with a mask and not get sick.
Yeah.
And if people don't do that, working out with the mask is very bad for you. But there's a whole list. This whole thing I was reading from the CDC of you can work out with the mask, but you got to do this. Boom, 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 boom. You cannot overexert yourself. You can't according to them. I don't whatever. I just thought it was kind of silly. It didn't really look like a workout, but whatever.
I think you can look at it many different ways. I played tennis outdoors in Las Vegas at 110 degrees. Is it really, healthy for me to sit out and bake in the sun and breathe in the carbon monoxide versus, I could say, oh, no, I'm
actually, I think inside. It is.
And
actually, I think it is healthier outside than inside. But,
Well, that's the thing is, if you only look at the negative, it's not going to be ever perfect. I enjoy tennis. I would rather, break my knees, stopping and starting, doing that and breathing carbon monoxide and getting, the worst UV radiation I can get. But it's something that I do and I take enjoyment from. So all I can do is look at the positive of that. I can take preventative measures and wear sunscreen, but why are you, looking at all the negatives? If you're going to the gym and you're working out, follow the rules and get the best workout you can. Going out in the sun, I would rather play when, in an area where it's 73 degrees out and I don't have to wear sunscreen and, wear a hat and sunglasses, but I do it because I'd like to be able to see when I get older. I'd like to not have skin cancer, but big deal, man. I follow.
I agree.
Rules. You know?
You take a risk every time you leave your house.
Yeah, so just take the best educated guess you can, and hopefully you won't get hit by a bus.
Right?
Yeah.
Take all the precautions so you don't get hit by a bus.
I think it's ironic that we're talking about, healthy, and there's two fat chefs that are sitting here.
Oh, I know.
And
We're the
you're talking
epitome
about
of
being
health.
healthy. Yeah. Our career is not healthy.
That's true. Healthy, well, it's, no, it's not healthy.
Nope.
It's not healthy. It's very enriching.
Like
It's very enriched.
There's nothing better than when somebody leaves and says that, they had a great time at your place.
Yeah.
And, again, monetary, whatever, we put a lot of shit and we sacrifice a lot to do that. And we're just stupid that we enjoy that accolade. Yeah. You have to have an ego and say, you know what? I pat myself on the back. He just pat me on the back. And we had lunch or we had dinner.
Yeah.
That just sounds stupid.
Yeah.
But we do it. You talk to anybody else, they'd say, you're a moron. You know?
But it's something about it. I don't know. I eat it up like candy.
Yeah, and again,
just being
you're actually taking the positives from that. But I bet you if we made a list, there's more negatives to what we do than positives.
Oh, yeah.
So what the fuck? What conspiracy theory do you have about that? Because
that's why I named this KooKs with a K. We're all a little kooky.
Oh, okay. All right. Whatever, man.
Do I think there's something a little bit wrong with every cook in America? Yes. Especially if you like it. I'll never forget once I can't even remember what restaurant I was at, but I was standing there in a hotline, and this realization came over me because I was really enjoying it. I was really loving what I was doing. And this realization came over me like, I'm never going to make any money. I was like, son of a bitch. There's no money in this.
As a young man, I could see that. But I don't think that that's the case. If you wanted to make money, the only thing is I don't know if you'd want to sacrifice any more to make that money.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Peter. And I am looking at things like that, thinking things a little differently. But I don't really, I save money a lot better just because I don't really party like I used to. I don't really like it.
Well, that's
I think that's my other camera going off.
Okay.
I have to end it. It's like 2 hours, though.
Okay, that was long enough.
Yeah, man, it was great, Peter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's go eat.
Yep.